Hi there. Welcome to Bible Slash Chat. Gus, hello. How are
It
you?
doesn't have to be that long.
Yeah. Just keep talking. Just keep talking. Every time I try to start a video, Gus talks, and I'm like, no, wait. Let me just,
Melissa says
wait.
I'm a talker
You,
sometimes.
you, Gus, you've never met a wall you couldn't strike up a conversation with.
I have. I have. I have.
Stop.
They have first and last names.
Yeah, don't stop. Anyway, we had a question.
Yeah. Well, let's do the question. I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Which one of the do?
Let's do John.
Yeah, let's do
that's
John.
good,
So a question that maybe both of us can answer them together.
Yeah,
I really
totally.
was thinking about this. Care group, we've been going through the Gospel of John,
Yep.
and we're seeing Jesus a lot over and over and over
Yeah.
again. It seems like he is grabbing a stick
Yeah.
and hitting a hornet's nest
Yeah.
every single time, right?
Yeah.
He seems to be provoking.
Yeah. It almost seems that way.
Yeah. And a couple weeks ago, we've been talking to a care group about John chapter 9. Last week, we did chapter 10. And we're thinking about, okay, so is Jesus saying this on purpose?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
He doesn't do things without
Yeah,
purpose.
there's nothing
right?
that's actually.
He's not saying,
yeah.
oh, I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah, totally.
Like, he is the perfect Son of God, right?
Yeah, it's not a mistake.
So we are taught not to provoke others,
Right,
like
right.
our kids.
Yeah,
we tell
totally.
them not to provoke one
Yeah,
another.
don't provoke each other. Yeah, totally.
So we know Jesus doesn't sin and never
Yeah.
sinned. So what kind of was he provoking them? Was he? How should we think about this?
Yeah.
Like biblically.
Totally. Yeah. So this is a super good question, and we've been addressing this in care group as well, because it's definitely interesting to watch the interactions. So he continues to say things like, "Well, you're sons of Satan." I mean, that's going to provoke a response. You can't say that to a group.
Well, they're calling him a Samaritan.
And having a demon. Yeah, and he's like, actually, you're the. So you see this but what's interesting about Christ in these discourses, starting in 5 all the way through 10, you have these very interesting discourses, and every one of them, what he's really doing is making truth claims.
Yeah.
So there's this consistent claim about his deity.
Yeah.
And the fact that he is the Messiah, and then there's the consistent interaction with the Pharisees, where they're responding to him and basically saying, "You're not," and they're rejecting him. So in a sense, it isn't so much his language. He's not like trying to pick a fight with them in that sense. Like he's like, "You guys are idiots," like that.
Yeah.
What he's doing is just saying like, "I am here. I am the Messiah, and you're missing me."
Yeah.
And you see that so clearly. Chapter 5, he's like, "Hey, here's all the witnesses proving that I am who I say that I am." Chapter 6, he makes these claims to deity, and then he makes it so clear. He says like, "Look, this is who I say I am, and you must come to know me. You must believe in me, and you must believe in the most profound way. You have to like in a sense eat my flesh and drink my blood." Which obviously he's talking spiritually there. But that reality, he's saying you have to come to know me. Same in 7, you have that same sort of movement or flow in the thought of his response at the feast, right? You have that same idea. He's making these consistent claims to deity over and over.
Yeah.
And over again.
Verse 16, my teaching is not mine, but his who sent me.
Exactly.
I mean,
this is
that
so
is hitting
clear.
a hornet's nest, right?
And it really crescendos in 8, because in 8:12 he says, "I'm the light of the world."
Yeah.
If you follow me, you won't walk in darkness. You'll have the light of life, and that's all coming together there from that. The Pharisees are like, "You're lying because you're testifying about yourself." And again, you have this successive number of claims to deity, at the end of which he says, "Before Abraham was, I am."
Yeah.
You have that statement. Then you have this story of the blind man who sees what Jesus has been saying. So 5 through 8 are these discourses that are basically saying, "I am God, I am God, I am God." And then you have a guy who sees that reality, and you have the Pharisees who are blind.
Yeah.
And John is in
and that's how he ends, right? He ends
like
with that
masterful way of doing that. He sets those things next to each other. He says, "Look, this is a group of people that did see. This is a group of people that don't see." And in a sense, the call is like, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
Right. The thing that's so interesting is that what's provoking the Pharisees is this consistent claim to deity.
Yeah.
And the way that starts, which I find so interesting, the way that this all starts is that he heals the guy in chapter 5 at the pool of Bethesda, who he knows is an unbeliever.
Yeah.
He doesn't pick the blind man in chapter 9 who converts and comes to Christ. He picks the guy who he knows is going to turn him into the Pharisees. There's a group of people who are all invalids at the pool of Bethesda. He picks the guy who is an unbeliever, heals him, knowing, like, because God would obviously clearly give him direction in this, that guy is going to then go to the Pharisees. And he goes and warns him a second time. He says, "Don't commit the sin." But again, that reality, he picks that guy out of this whole crowd. Why? Well, because in God's providence, that kicks off the fight with the Pharisees. And so he, in a sense, is doing something that is identifying himself as deity, healing this guy on the Sabbath, telling him to carry his pallet, but like doing something that's going to show his deity, which will then start this series of discourses, which will lead to the blind man who then is essentially going to confess him as Christ and show that the Pharisees have been blinded the whole time. Yeah. So that's kind of the structure of that.
Yeah.
What I found super interesting reading is if you think about it, John is writing this, possibly end of the first century. He's writing it as a witness to Jewish people.
Yeah.
It's an evangelistic gospel to Jewish people. And he's saying, hey, the Messiah has come.
Yeah.
It's Jesus. You need to believe in him. And if you're a Jew at that time, think of second century Jewish person, you would say, look, I don't know this Jesus. But if he's the Messiah, the leaders of the people would have known that at the time. So I can't believe in him. They would have known it. If they don't know it, then he must not have been the Messiah.
Yeah.
But the most interesting thing is that John essentially uses this series of discourses to show they didn't believe in him, not because he wasn't the Messiah. They didn't believe in him because their hearts were hard to the very clear proof that he was the Messiah with the works that he did and the statements of his own deity. Yeah. They rejected the fact that he was saying who he was and he was proving who he was, and they rejected that because their hearts were hard and they were unwilling to come to him. They were blinded, which in a sense leads to John chapter 11. If you look real quickly, look at 11. Super interesting just to see the flow of thought here. I'm sorry, not chapter 11. Chapter 11 is the peak miracle there. Chapter 12, I apologize. Chapter 12, verse 36, halfway through, you have a new paragraph. It says, these things Jesus spoke, and he went away and hid himself from them. And it says, but though he had performed so many signs before them, yet they were not believing in him. This was to fulfill the word of Isaiah the prophet, which he spoke. Lord, who has believed our report, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For this reason they could not believe. And then he quotes Isaiah again. He has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, so that they would not see with their eyes and perceive with their heart and be converted, and I heal them. And John finishes
Isaiah
that
6, by the way.
Isaiah 6, which is crazy. And then if you just keep reading, verse 43, it says, they did not believe in him because they were afraid they would be put out of the synagogue. And then he says, for they loved the approval, the glory of men rather than the glory of God, which is a stunning statement. John is saying, like, this is the conclusive proof that the Pharisees at the time, the religious leaders at the time, had rejected Christ because they loved their own glory and they didn't love God's glory. Which, if you're a reader, you're like, oh, as a Jewish reader, you're like, oh, they should have known that he was the Messiah, but their eyes were blinded.
And I think that this was God's judgment on them. Right?
100%.
That the light of the world came.
Yeah. And they missed him.
And they missed him.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, Isaiah 6 prophesied. I mean, you covered this. I know you talked about like it's prophesied that they would be blinded to not see. It's just stunning.
Well, it's interesting even when you think Jesus going, and you see this in chapter 10, right? Which he immediately talks about, and even with the 7 I ams, right?
Yeah.
He's being very clear that he is the Son of God. That he is Yahweh, the one that Isaiah saw.
Yeah, totally.
And the temple in Isaiah 6, right?
Yeah, totally.
And the people are fixating on him healing on the Sabbath.
Yeah.
On the disciples not washing their hands.
Yeah.
They're fixating on the outside of the cup.
Totally.
Right.
Just missing it.
And missing it completely. But they should have known this.
Totally.
Right. They should have known who they had in front of them.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting because I think even today, we've been talking in our care group about this. Even to this day, you can show a person, an unbeliever, you can show them every kind of evidence.
Yeah.
But if the Spirit doesn't work and turns on the light, they're not going to see it.
They're not going to see.
They're not. Then that's how we were, right?
Yeah, totally.
So this is the Spirit's work, even to them. So when Jesus is doing this, he's actually eliciting from them that reaction that he knew he was going to get. He wasn't surprised. He was like, "Hey, it's me."
Yeah, don't you guys know? Yeah. He's not caught off guard.
No, he's not.
Which I think, like, at the same, he's not caught off guard. I do think, as I've been reading it, you see his sorrow in it.
Of course, yeah.
He's like appealing to them.
Yeah,
and the fact that he just continues to appeal.
I mean, chapter 12 is very clear what you just read, right?
Yeah.
Very clear. He sees that.
Yeah, and every one of these discourses, there's this appeal. Like, don't you know? Yeah. Like, I am who I say I am. I am who I say I am. Yeah. And they're like, not only like, do we hate you? We're going to kill you.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And just so blinded that they're like, a man who has no legs regrows them.
Yeah.
stands up and walks, and like, it's Saturday, right? I mean, like, it's crazy. It's just so sad.
Yeah, but it really shows you the heart of man that is unwilling to see.
Yeah.
It's like Van Til, remember, the apologist used to say, the unbeliever has, glasses that are completely dark and with cemented to their eyes, and they're never going to see unless someone rips that off. And now they're able to see.
Totally,
right? And that's what it is.
And it's the work of God.
They missed it. Yeah.
And it's super interesting because that's John's point in John 1.
Yeah.
In the intro where he says, as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, even to those who believe in his name, who were born not of the will, not of the blood. They weren't. It's not because they're Jewish, nor the will of the flesh, like their own work, right? Nor the will of man, like someone else willed them into the kingdom. No, it's God. God is the one who's going to give new life, and apart from God giving new life, they're blind.
It's fantastic.
It's incredible. Yeah, when you see it all flow together in the book, it's just amazing. Anyway,
thank you.
Yeah,
very helpful.
Super fun.
Yeah, super helpful.
All right, well, I hope that's helpful for you as well as you just think through the book of John. If you have any questions on this or any other topic, you can always email us at info@faithbibleoc.org. Thanks so much.